This is 2OF Entertainment.
Good day,
Here we are. Good day to you.
Yeah.
And how are things in sunny Canada?
Sunny Canada is winter still in places and nice in others. And one of our artists that we have today is in the nicer part, and it's a little warmer on the more closer to the west coast. And no, we're gonna have a great show. We have Vaughn Butland from Kamloops, BC. Now Vaughn is he is a very accomplished watercolor painter, landscape mostly, and I'm not saying that he can't do other things, but he's got a commercial background but he's been painting professionally for over 35 years, and that's what he's been doing for a living. And he's had a number, over 25 solo shows, major shows. So I think it's worthy to show the work of an accomplished artist. Not that all our artists aren't; they all are accomplished, but being accomplished
in different ways. You mean? Yeah.
Well, yes, and I mean the business aspects of it as well. And making a living as an artist, it's not the easiest thing in the world, anywhere in the world. Making it, not just Canada, anywhere, Europe or UK or even in the States, it's tough making a living just as an artist. And there might be some valuable tips in here from Vaughn. He might share some of those with us. I'm looking forward to talking to him about his journey. I mean, how did he get here and where he's going? So we'll bring Vaughn in maybe.
Let's bring him into the studio. So
there he is. There he is. Good day, sir.
Good day to you. It's going to be an interesting show. I think Vaughn can hear us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
we're ready to go.
Right. Yeah. We're ready to go. Well, gentlemen, have a great show. I'll try and stay with you until the end. If not, we'll do our thing, you and I, when we're finished. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Yeah. Have a great show.
Thank you.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
a little bit earlier. Yeah, a little bit earlier where you are, but we appreciate that we got all these time differences that we're dealing with across the country.
Yes.
Well, you'll have some time left in your day to do some work, get some of that great painting done. But Vaughn, we're looking at a little bit about I guess your history, like where your art journey, where you kind of started from, and can you give us a little background on that a little bit?
Well, a quick background. Yes, I started out primarily wanting to be in the commercial art field. I didn't like it very much. I got wrapped up in different businesses and went from pillar to post at different businesses. And then finally I got fed up with them and decided I would make a life as a full-time painter. Mostly in the beginning it was oils, and then I also saw somebody do a demo on watercolor, and that turned me on to watercolor. So I did both watercolor and oils for a number of years, and I maintained a studio downtown where I taught classes in drawing and painting, and also did workshops all over. Did them in Mexico, did them in New Brunswick, did them in Saskatchewan, Kamloops, Vancouver, whatever. Being an artist is a bit of a roller coaster ride. You can't just do one thing. You have to be prepared to do a number of things because come the end of the month, the rent has to be paid, or the mortgage. So you diversify. Okay. But it's a roller coaster ride and enjoyable all the way.
Yeah. Well, enjoying it, I think, is the main thing. So trying to be able to find a way to enjoy that ride. It's so unique, different than being somebody in the trades or somebody who has a steady job working for a company or something. But I think uh, you don't go into. I guess a lot of artists go into this naively, right? They start off and get out of
Yes.
mom's basement. They get out of mom's basement and they're going to kill the world. They get out of university and they thought, yeah, I had a really great BFA show. I'm going to kill the world and the fuse is very short. They haven't figured out how to make the fuse longer when they
Yeah.
get out. Um, and I'm glad you shared some of that information, valuable information about diversifying how an artist makes a living. I think I was very fortunate. I had a commercial background that allowed me some time and some stability financially to do things, but I didn't have the time to work doing my artwork all year, all day, whenever I wanted to. I had to pick times when I could do it around my job that I had in the day. And I think a lot of artists have that as well. They have the job that they have to work around. Very fortunate you were able to, like 1984, start doing full time painting, and so you said you did workshops as well, and those kind
Yeah.
of things. So
Yes.
that
Yeah.
I guess it's part of that education. If you go to university, you learn how to do things, but you have learned a skill set that you could share with others that earn you income. From it's part of your day, and if you schedule it, you'll still have time to paint or draw or sculpt or whatever you do. So, and it's nice that you can manage. Say you only want to teach on a Wednesday, then you teach on Wednesday, right? So not
Yeah.
not every day. Well, you don't have to teach every day of the week. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you do some workshops. Anyway, back to you. So I'm going to get David to start the images up right to start with here, and we'll just talk through some of the. There we go. Yeah, it's a beautiful image.
Yeah. That's up at
I think yeah. Can you just walk us through a little bit about each images as we go through? People like to see and maybe know a little bit of background about that image and you painting it, I guess, and a little bit where it is and those kind of things. Yeah.
Okay, this painting is watercolor, and it was it's of an area here. We call it Sun Peaks. It's a ski hill, but this is the
Right.
summertime. And the great thing about going up there in the summertime, you get about 4 seasons in one day. You can have snow in July, and then the wildflowers come out, flowers come out in August. And this is about August sometime, and the storm was coming in, and I just wanted to capture that atmosphere. I felt watercolor is what is it? Yeah.
So do you paint on location then? Is that what you do?
Yes, we actually the Sun Peaks Resort people sponsored me at that time to take artists up into the top of the mountain and sit down and sketch during the flower seasons. And so this was done from one of those sketches. I had I did I did hundreds of these, and so I got lots of sketches to work from, and you can alter them back and forth, working with composition and that. So it just there's no end to the possibilities.
Right. So when you put those little tours together with those artists, did they have shows with them at the ski lodge or whatever that organized this, or way of
Well, we
showing it?
did. Yes, we did at that time. We did have some shows up there. Um, it's a resort town now. There's a lot of houses and merchants and lots of places and hotels to mount paintings. And it's probably one of the gems of our area.
Right. Yeah. No, I just what I really love about this piece is I can feel like I'm going over the hill, like over the edge of the mountain without you telling me all the details, because the mist of the clouds and that coming up from behind the hill, and you're standing in the foreground. It's I guess a master's way of showing something without showing something, right? You almost feel how moist in the air, and you can feel that. And it's funny how watercolor can give you that. It's a magic medium that's really natural, more so than oils and other things. And I think people need to appreciate watercolor for the advantage that it can actually give an artist. Once you master watercolor, you can paint anything. I think that's. Do you believe in that a little bit? If you can do watercolor, you can paint most everything in any medium.
Well, yes. Yeah. The reason why I settled on watercolor as my prime medium is because it's difficult, but you can say more with it, I find, because as opposed to an opaque oil, in watercolor, you're looking through colors, just like you would if you're outside. The human eyes doesn't see things opaquely, it sees things through the atmosphere. And this is what you try and capture. Primarily, my paintings are all in landscapes. They're trying to capture the atmosphere and the feeling and mood of the moment.
Yeah.
And yes, that's why I like to work from sketches and memory. And you can have photographs too, but the photographs do not see the same way as the human eye sees. So you have to do the sketches and you have to paint on site.
Yeah. So you have a sketchbook as well that you work through and take with you?
I got 100 of them. I counted them a while ago, and I actually have 100 sketchbooks.
Yeah.
Pencil drawings and watercolor sketches, yeah.
Have you found that you go back to those early sketches that inspire you? I found sometimes my work is cyclic. I tend to think I've gone back to what I used to paint, and I painted it, I'll say, naively in the day, in my early days of painting. But I said I captured something that I didn't capture today. So I see things in it now that I had missed as an early painter. It's important to keep those sketchbooks, I guess, is what I'm saying. There's valuable information in there about you and how you paint when you find your way of painting. Because I would imagine you take 10 or 12 people up to this mountain, they all see it differently,
Oh, yes, they do. And that's the beauty of going out painting. And you realize that no two people see the things the same way. They're similar, but they're not the same.
Yeah, it's just, we'll go on to farther here. So here's some, I guess, visitors that you travel around the country and more in the foothills area of you live in the mountains, and basically being in Kamloops, and it's beautiful country. It's, as they say, God's country there. And, like you said, you can have 4, maybe 5 seasons now with fire. But they all leave you with, they change the landscape. Like each one of those seasons freshens the view. I guess I'll call it like that. So do you like buildings and structures that are within the natural life form or the natural?
Oh, yes. Landscape? Well, they make, they're great for the composition. They stand out. Now, this particular painting is on Tranquille Road. It takes me a half an hour to get there from here. That barn had, when I did that painting, it was done from a sketch on site, a small painting on site. And in front of the barn, there was a tractor and a whole bunch of other junk that I just eliminated them because I wanted the barn to stand out and against the landscape. And if you can see, there's a little white man there's a little white, almost looks like a blob, but it's a man in standing and that sends your eye to that area. But it's one of those. The area around here I found very, very difficult to paint because the colors they're not so definite. they don't graduate like they do in other areas of the country. It's just primarily arid desert type country,
Right.
ranch country, that type of thing. So it's very, very difficult, I find, to paint, and especially when it's right close to where I live. But it's a challenge, and you go at it.
Do you get approached every once in a while when you're out painting out in location by people?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I just find that sometimes I always had a line: if you ever got lost, just get out your watercolors and start painting. Somebody will find you. It's just it seemed to be that way.
That's why.
You're trying to find someplace secluded and just concentrate on what you're doing, and all of a sudden there's somebody looking over your shoulder.
Yeah. Well, I have one friend. She travels all over the place all by herself painting, and she knows this country better than anybody because if we're going out and painting almost every day. But you should carry a cell phone with you because if you do get yourself in an area where you need to get out, then you need some outside help. Maybe you're better off to have some form of communication. And if you don't have a walkie-talkie, you better have a cell phone.
Yeah, no, it's being aware when you do go out on location, especially if you're by yourself, is it's crucial. But even with wildlife around, I mean, it's being aware that
Yeah.
there's a time to leave. And don't just stay there for the painting because you have a good one going, and all of a sudden the bear arrives on your trail.
That happens. That
It
happens.
it actually happens quite a bit. Hikers and different things that are doing those things. But so, do you do much anymore, like the hiking thing, and with the backpack and go into the backcountry a bit more, or is
Yeah.
that
Oh, yes. You just carry, well, watercolor, the beauty of watercolor is easily transported.
yeah,
All you need is a little water, some brushes, paint, and something to paint on.
right?
Uh, and so just a small backpack just works beautifully, and you can just set up just about anywhere.
Yeah.
Um, most of us around here uh, will travel with a truck. I don't use my truck these days, but if you're going too far out, it's a good idea to have a four-wheel drive because if you get stuck, you're stuck, and you don't want to get stuck out there. Uh,
Yeah.
with the,
Yeah,
with the,
you're showing us areas here that you may not get stuck in, but when you do get up into the mountain trails and some of those things that are beautiful landscape up there, but it's
oh yes,
it's
beautiful,
very
yes.
remote. It's very remote.
Oh, here we are. This is on the coast, okay, and I got up one morning. We were right on the coast, Long Beach area, which is Chesterman Beach, the other side of Vancouver Island. And I got up early one morning, and this is what I saw coming in. It didn't last long, and a lot of this is painted strictly from memory.
Yeah.
I did take a couple of photos, but they just didn't do justice to it. So I just pretty well painted this from memory. Yeah.
I can feel the breeze coming in. You can feel the wind in your hair a little bit. I think that's what you want to leave with people. You want that experience that you were there, and if they can get a little sense of, I mean, it's a beautiful painting, but if it leaves an energy with you, even if it's a small piece, it kind of resonates. Do you paint for a market at all, or do you have the market come to you? Is that how you in other words, do you do commissions as well, or?
Well, I don't do commissions anymore, but when you're in the marketplace, and this is when I started out, because I had some experience in business, I realized that I had to have some sort of a plan. So I made a plan, and then the idea is you work the plan. But because things change as you go along, the plan has to be altered quite often. One of the main problems with the art world, it runs in fads. So there are certain things that are hot for a while and then they die down. And so if you want to maintain your integrity and do the things that you believe in, then you have to ride it out, and it's not an easy go. So you do a lot of other things. A lot of my business came through the corporate. I decided at the beginning that corporations don't really care too much about art, but corporations are run by people, and people do care about art. So you have to find a way to approach them, and there's paintings that can go on their walls. They buy paintings as gifts to some of their clients, and so it's a vast market. And I really didn't tap that market as well as it could have been tapped, but it did see me through most of my career dealing with the corporates. And also I did Christmas cards, limited edition prints for them. Um, and they would buy the original, and then I would sell them maybe 200 copies, and those copies they would give out to their customers. So it worked very well, and they liked the Christmas cards. So we did about 5,000 Christmas cards a year. So that was also part of my business. The other part was I rented a studio space downtown, and it was above retail stores, and it was about 1,000 square feet. And there I taught drawing, oil painting, watercolor painting, and acrylic painting. And along with that, it even gave me more advertising. So it wasn't, and then I did portraits in oil. I did portraits in watercolor. Uh, just so many things. It's just that when I finally settled down, and the last few years, I'm able to just work in watercolor, and it the sales aren't there like they used to be, but they don't have to be anymore. Because if you're an artist, one thing you will have to learn real quick is if you make any money, don't spend it. Put it away for a rainy day, because it will rain and
Yeah.
you'll need it. So that's what really carries you through. You work on the average. So you make yourself a budget and stick to it. Because if you don't, there's so many things that can happen. Like we've had the 2008, that was a downturn in the economy. We had the pandemic. That was a real hit for all businesses, and the arts they're at the bottom of the food chain, so they really get hit hard. So you have to prepare for those things, because the sun doesn't shine every day. It does rain.
That's right. No, there's ways of making plans different for different people, and a lot of times it's subsidized by a part-time job, or whatever they have to do to build that nest egg. And I'll call it a nest egg, but rarely they're living out of a cookie jar most of the time. And the well's not that deep for a lot of artists, where like you said, you make hay when the sun shines a little bit as an artist. And I'm not saying being frugal, but a lot of times artists are very generous. I mean, they really are. They donate to auctions and other needs, and other people need something. They give their art very freely at a very marginal cost to support other people. So I really, it's a real benefit to be able to support an artist, because they do a lot of good for a lot of other people, and they don't think that much of. They do, yeah. So your love of animals, I can see there's a.
Yeah, well, I did a lot of work. I had horses of my own at one time, and that was the other part of my life as an artist, riding all across this country. And when you see this country on horseback, it's not the same as it is when you see it from an automobile. It's
Yeah.
quite different. This horse is one that belongs to a friend of mine, and that's sort of him in the background, and it's over in the Tronquil area. It's quarter horse. He used to train horses for quarter horses for cutting. They were cutting horses. And he did a lot of training of horses for a number of people. So I enjoyed I enjoyed going over to his place. He and his wife became great friends.
Yeah.
He's since passed away. Too bad, but she still is in the same area.
Yeah. No, it's I think when artists get to know people, they're friends for a long, long time. I think a lot of people really they like being around artists. Artists, they're another set of eyeballs that see the world a little differently. Especially if you're painting something off of their property. If you've had permission to paint in their area, I've seen it where they'll bring they'll bring a sandwich and a coffee out to you if you've been there for a day or two and painting, and they're become, like you said, lifelong friends a lot of times, especially if you like painting that area that they have, and they a lot of times respect your privacy to do work. But it's nice to, my horses look like German shepherds, so I don't paint a lot of them, but there's a scale to a horse, and it's like if you can see a lot of it's square, then you add the neck and the head to it, so basically the body's square, and then you have to fill it in. But it's like I just sort of thought you got to learn the anatomy really well if you're just going to be painting, unless you're working directly from a photograph. A lot of these equestrian type painters, they have good reference material for the owner wants the horse to look like their horse, and it's a portrait as well, and it's difficult to nail that horse to maybe it looks like the horse. It has a personality as well. But we're back to
this is Hornby. This scene here is Hornby Island.
Okay, it's Hornby.
It's we're on a beach in Hornby. This is one of the Gulf Islands that's off the coast here. It's a beautiful place to go and paint. It's just just so many avenues to the beach, or some areas are rocky, some areas are like this. But this particular day, it was so beautiful, and another artist was sitting alongside of me, and she said, "I'm going to remember this day the rest of my life. It was so beautiful," and that was my. I did this a small painting, but this is a larger one of the same day. So yeah.
No, you can really just feel this really nice weather, the low cloud coming over the mountains in the background, a little, or the clouds and mountains and the edges. And I love these slips of inlets, with a little bit of an island coming across. They give gives depth to something, where a lot of times you paint a landscape, it's really hard to get a perspective in it. We don't have power lines here. We don't have roads that diminish, but building a depth perception, the foreground, midground, background, and without it being defined as such. I mean, you look at it, the page is divided, but it transitions nicely, I guess is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Well, that's again trying to capture the feeling, and also it's some of these areas, it's difficult to keep your composition working well, because you get wrapped up in the scenery, and all you see is this beautiful sky in the background and this foreground, but you got to arrange things so that it balances, and it makes the picture put together so that the eye stays in the picture. It just doesn't look at it and walk right out. You don't want to have arrows pointing out of the picture, so you have to block it. And that's why that rock that's sitting in the foreground is sitting there. It wasn't there, it was someplace else, but I moved it over there for the composition.
That's right.
But the background is just washes, and it's it's not hard to do. It's just sometimes a little hard to control.
I think planning, that's the one thing a watercolor does for someone. It forces you to plan your page. Oils, not so much. Acrylics, not so much. You can paint over it. You can do all those kind of things. Once
Yeah.
you've laid in a color, that's the color.
Yeah,
You know,
well, that's it. You make the
yeah,
stroke and you can't take it back. So,
it can only get
no.
yeah, it can only get darker
But
and muddier.
yeah,
Yeah,
well, it's just like anything else. It's a learning curve. Once you learn how to do it and work with it, it just comes. You don't think about it. You can't if you're doing a painting like this. You can't stop and do a lot of thinking. You have to have that plan in mind and just go for it.
yeah.
And
It helps when you've maybe painted this situation a number of times. So you kind of get a feel for what you're painting. So do a small thumbnail, some sketches, you get a feeling for what you want. But I find
yeah,
sometimes, like first time out in the year, you get overwhelmed with how much you can see because your visual
yes,
is here, yet
hmm
you need to focus. Your paper's only that big. So you haven't got a panoramic paper in front of you all the time. So you've got to, what is the most important thing that you're painting, right? The focal point. And
yes, yeah,
yeah, how
yes.
do you, how
Well,
do you, yeah, how do
it's.
you
I
determine that?
think some of these things I've been doing it for so long that I really don't think about it. I really just go with my instincts and
Yeah,
let and things just fall into place. And as you're doing it if it's right or wrong. And
yeah,
sometimes it just doesn't work. You do have to say, okay, I'll scrap that one and get on with it. And
yeah,
sometimes I've taken and tried a painting 3 or 4 times and it still doesn't work. So I just forget about it and go someplace else because I can't get it. I can't
yeah.
get what I want. Somebody else might say, oh, that's fine. But no, I can't do it. I just leave it, walk it away.
I've developed a kind of a cropping device, a little window to look through, and the window is the proportion of the paper. So if you hold it up and you move it around and back and forth in your eye, you can, if you're painting exactly what you see. But a lot, like you said before, you can move a rock, you can do different things. You don't have to work with a cropping device if you have a feeling that you want. I just find sometimes, you want that island that you've got there just to come to a certain point in your paper. You don't want it to go farther than that. And you've got to plan that. And like you said, a lot of times you've done with the experience, you know, the subtle thing is, and I'll just point out one thing, that little bit of water behind the green island on the tip there is as important as anything. When you look at that, to take your eye into that behind the island. Otherwise, the water stops at the island if you don't move that horizon line just a little bit, and to keep that so you don't fill it in with a bunch of color, and that you keep the water sparkly a little bit and it draws your eye. No, it's a well designed piece. Nice piece. Those
Oh,
two. Yeah,
yeah.
piece. So
Okay, this is up on Sunshine Coast.
this,
Um,
yeah,
it's a little bay, and I've done a lot of paintings of this because we have friends that have a cottage there, and we would go visit them. And I'd like to get up early in the morning before anybody else and just go out and walking around. And everywhere you turn, there's a painting
yeah,
everywhere.
yeah.
So it's and there's one area that you can see in the mid ground is white. Well, it's a big white rock, and
Yeah,
it stands out. So I tried to indicate it, but not make it too prevalent. Now and then I put the three triangle people in the foreground just for balance and to give you a center of interest type of thing. So again, it's early morning and it turns out it's going to be a beautiful day. you'll be able to watch the seals come in and the gulls, and it's just the nature is just it's unsurpassed
You're
anywhere.
immersed in it. Yeah. So do you work on a watercolor block or do you stretch your paper?
Well, I have watercolor pads that
Yeah.
I made myself. And then the odd time when I go into an art store, I'll go looking to see what watercolor pads they might have. I like a ring binder one. Um, I don't like the ones that are like what they call the watercolor pad, which is a watercolor paper that's put together with is sort of a glue on all around it. And no, I don't care for those. I really like a sketch pad. And then sometimes I'll paint right on the watercolor paper that I carry. I got about 5 different types of watercolor painting or watercolor paper, and I like that because it challenges you more, because every manufacturer makes their paper a little bit different. So I never know what I'm going to find when I start out, but it's fun to work it out. So I can't say I use this, that, or any. I use everything. So
do you prefer one with more tooth to it? Like, do you prefer a rougher paper, or do you tend to be more hot press or cold press papers? Like, do you prefer that, or?
okay, I use all three, and what I do is I pull one out and just go at it, and try and work my way through using the different papers, because they give you different effects.
Yeah,
So most of the I would say most of the paper is medium. You know, it's not rough, it's not smooth. So most of the paper is medium.
they tend to absorb the water nice, and they'll blend nicely. I just find with the hot press papers, a lot of times they'll leave an edge or a line on you. If you don't get on it quickly, it'll leave a hard edge on you. And if you're a hard edge painter, that's a beautiful paper. But just understanding the papers, try them out. I think that you're right. And how big is this painting that you'd be working on, like this one here? You know,
well, I buy it in the full sheets, which
just like a quarter sheet.
Hmm?
Is this like about a quarter sheet in size?
This
11?
one, this one's a half sheet.
No, half sheet. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And most of my paintings are done in half and quarter sheet.
Yeah.
I used to do full sheet, but I just don't have the room anymore, and so I just do the half and the quarter, and at the eighth. I also do a number of them, and a lot of the paintings, if I do them on site, they'll be on an eighth of a sheet.
Yeah. So everything is framed and glazed when you present your work. That's how you behind glass. Is that usually how you do them?
Well, when they're framed, they're behind what we call true view glass. It's not non-glare glass. It's called true view, and it doesn't look like there's any glass on there at all. I prefer that, but a lot of people buy paintings from me, and they'll reframe them. So it's up to the individual there. But yes, then there is the other method that's being used, and I'm doing a little bit of that, where you can spray the painting with a fixative, and then you don't need glass. So and you can use them in a oil painting frame. But there's a lot of that being done now because people don't want glass.
Yeah.
Or I shouldn't say people don't want glass. Some people don't want glass.
It's difficult to ship a lot of times with glass and just packaging it. But the other thing is, a lot of them are adhering them to wood panel, and they'll wax them. They'll actually wax the surface, and it gives a different kind of glow to the work. But you can't go back once it's done. There is no going back to the work.
Right. Yeah. Well, waxing the painting afterwards, I do that too. I did that on the ones that I sprayed with fixative. and that does give them a little bit of a shine. Okay, and it's kind of nice, but I still prefer a watercolor framed under glass.
Yeah.
I think
And
I,
massive
I think I think that's they're a little too delicate, I find, for trying to make them look like an oil painting.
Yeah, you're right. And I think trying to make one medium look like another one. Acrylic was bad that way. Acrylic's trying to look like an oil painting. And now, people are starting to understand how you can make an acrylic. It's an acceptable form, right? Make an acrylic is an acrylic, which is somewhere between a watercolor and some opaque way of painting. Dries quicker and those kind of things. But this, we go through a lot of painting greens. And you seem to have this ability to paint, beautiful greens, capturing that little bright little bit of light, and you're not afraid to leave some darkness in the foreground right there, keeping your greens. It's a difficult color set for a lot of artists. Is there a secret to something, or is it minimizing your palette?
Well, okay. When I was teaching, a lot of my students would say, "How did you make that green?" I say, "I don't know. I feel it." So that green can be made of with blue and yellow and burnt sienna. It can be made with red and blue, and it's just a mixture of colors. And so I just start putting them on and make them work. So it's when I find that mixing of colors there's no formula. And so many people would like to have a formula, but there isn't any because things change so much, and the colors come in so many different hues that you just have to let your feelings guide you through that. So I can't really explain it. It's just the way it just.
It's finding the warm green and a cool green, right? And so as long as you're in the area you want to be, like if you want to, like in the foreground, it's a warm green, right? You deal with warm greens, and might have a bit of alizarin in it or something like that, and it gives you that nice brownish green, which is kind of, I call them August green. They just kind of how the grass burns, which is kind of, yeah. No, but you know what? Planning the light is important. Like that the light green that's going through the midsection, underscoring the barn, just underscoring that tree line. It draws your eye in nicely, It has a nice, and it's dark, but it's a fresh painting, right? There's a freshness to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you all this is intuitive, right? What made you stop at this spot? Like, what is important in this piece to you? There's a building, and there's location, and there's clouds, and there's grass, and there's
Okay. Well, when I came upon this scene, okay, and I looked out, and that light in the middle ground there, it didn't last very long.
I know.
So I had to pretty well pencil it in and just get the idea. And then, of course, when the barn was sitting there, and because it's a metal roof, and of course that light is hitting that roof, so that hit me, and that's what I wanted to portray, how that light hit me that particular moment, because it didn't last. And that's one of the things about drawing and painting on site is the sun doesn't stay still, it moves, and the clouds move. So the light doesn't always stay the same. So you got to use a little bit of memory and work with that.
I like the aspect that there's this abstract shape, a square, or it's just a square on a bit of an angle that is in a landscape, right? It's everything else is organic and the natural trees and grass and things, and there's this beautiful little square, that's brightly lit. I mean, your eye goes there, like for sure, your eye's going there. So everything else has to feed what that is, right? Understanding. Otherwise, there's just this really bright spot, right? A lot of your work has that. A lot of work, you have that planned spot, and it tends to be whether it's the white shirt on the guy in front of the barn or the different things, but it just kind of draws your eye to things, forcing people to say, pay attention to what I see. And I like that idea. That's taking control. Well, it's taking control of your work, right? That's why you did it. I mean, if
I'm afraid artists are a little emotional, and when they go out and they see the landscape, they don't see it as other people do, and that's what you're trying to point out. You know, we live in such a beautiful, beautiful planet and a beautiful country. And I think a lot of us artists are trying to tell people to stop trying to destroy it. You know, this is one of the most wonderful presents you could ever get. It's Christmas every day. So get out there and enjoy it. It might be raining, it might be a storm coming in, there might be a sunshiny day, but it's all beautiful.
So does a lot of your work subtly say a little environmental edge to it, messaging of some kind, or more so now than before, or is that even part on your thing, is to be environmental awareness in some way in your work?
I've always felt that way. I grew up in New Brunswick. I was born on the Bay of Fundy in a place called Alma, and I enjoyed the scenery from when I was old enough to even look. So it's always been there. It's always been there, and things hit me. They strike me when I'm out there. Just things like this would just hit me, and so I want to share that emotion.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's another one here.
Oh,
Beautiful.
This is Okanagan Lake, and it's we would every year there's a group of us to get together with our wives, and some of the wives might be artists and their husbands aren't, or vice versa. And we've gone different places every year. We've been to France, we've been to New Brunswick, they've been to different islands here on the coast, and of course a number of places on the interior. This was one of those days we were there for a week, and it rained every day. And I mean, it rained. And this was one of those days, and you can see that it's wet.
Yeah. Usually it's really hot in the summer.
Yes, it is. But that happened to be in the fall, and it was raining. It's the area that we stayed in was called Naramata, and it's a great wine growing area. But that lake is a particularly beautiful lake, so I just we painted it every day anyway, one way or another.
Yeah, it's something you never know when you go on those sojourns, as we'll call them. You book a week of time or whatever, and you have to take what you're given. A lot of times you have to wear, bring your rubber boots sometimes, and your rain slicker, or you'd be just wearing a shirt one day and shorts.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to get. But planning your trip, you want to come back with a memory, and you'll always will have a memory, because
Oh yes.
I've been on a
Well,
number
that's the one thing that's the beauty of, or one of the things the beauty of sketching and drawing on site is you will lock that into your memory. It's better than just using a camera and walking around taking pictures, which you never look at again. But if you sit down and paint it, you're really studying the area that you're in, and it's locked in.
It's tough when you're going through a beautiful area and you have to be someplace at a certain time. And there's, like you said, there's a scene everywhere you're turning. You want to stop and you can't. A lot of people have their cell phones out and they're taking photos like crazy all along the way. And you get home, you got 1,000 photos on your phone, and you rarely ever look back at them. I have them, I said, well, I'll come back maybe and revisit the proportion of something or the scale of something that I was looking at. And I rarely do. I mean, I should just delete them. I mean, it's just one of those things. It's a crutch. I'll call it a crutch.
Well,
Yeah.
it is. But photography is a great aid. It can help you a lot, but you use it as a tool. You don't copy the photograph, but you use it as a tool, and it can help you in a lot of ways. But you, but it depends on as the artist what the artist is trying to convey.
Right.
So different artists will try, will have different approaches to the landscape. So this is just my approach. This is just my feeling and the way I see it. Oh, here's another rainy day. We're at Sycamore on Shuswap Lake, and but what I would call that intermittent rain. Every now and then the rain would lighten up. Now the problem when it gets wet like that, it's very, very hard to work in watercolor because your paper gets soaked, and you can't control to do anything with it. So this was done from a sketchbook with very hard paper, and this was the one I think that was and I did a number of paintings that day, but from those sketches. But this is the one that I thought I captured it the best that particular day.
Yeah, it is similar to one of the other previous ones you did in the rainy day. It has that wet on wet look, soft in the background. You get a feeling of misty rain or something. But if anybody's painted outside with watercolor, nothing like a big couple of water drops on your paper to finish it off. You got to move that water. You got to move the water around. I remember painting outside at a jazz festival one time, and one of the coordinators came around. He had one of their people come put an umbrella over this boy. He said. I had one guy holding an umbrella while I was painting. I thought it was very nice of him, but understanding. But there, I left the drops in the painting. It made the work, right? There was a few big drops that it hit, and it was a jazz painting, and it just the water drops made it work. So you got to work you got to work with what you got. Yeah.
Yes. Oh yes. Yeah. Well. Oh. Okay, we're back up on the mountains again. This is up at Sun Peaks. It's right at the top, and this. Well, I would have to say this is a small painting, and it's an eighth of a sheet, and I did that pretty well from memory.
Yeah.
It's got I've done so many sketches up there. I could sit down and do a painting out of my head of the area without any problem at all.
Yeah.
It's just
you get to know the foliage and the lay of the land pretty easily. Yeah, that nice rolling hill in the foreground and the grass that I like the feeling of the grass kind of going up the hill. Like you can feel there's a rhythm in the grass, and it's not just a big block of green and ochre. There is some movement in the grasses in a very minimalist way, and it's got capturing that quickly is that's the nice thing about watercolor. You can do it. It's kind of a beautiful piece. Yeah, no, I like the feeling of this ridge. There's trees behind the ridge, and you can't see them all. You can just see some tops, which gives you the feeling of I can go over there without it being just a flat piece. So it's kind of nice. Piece.
It's a ski hill, and and the mountains in the background go on and on and on and on. And somebody up there tried to. I remember when we were together, one of the painters tried to count all the different mountains in the background, and they couldn't.
Yeah, well, I know.
Just so many.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. This is near Salmon Arm. It's just an old barn sitting there, and again, it struck me as something that was interesting. So that's how it came about.
Yeah, yeah. These ones somewhat feel historical. These buildings will not last forever. I mean, but they're going
Oh
back,
no,
like they're going back to earth. They're falling apart, and we see it all across the prairies. These old elevators and old buildings on properties, and they're slowly just rotting and going back to earth.
yeah,
And yeah, they're just. But when you look at that, you can almost put yourself in that era, and in the early 1900s, maybe when they were an active ranch or farm. There was it was a bright building, and it is being reclaimed.
yeah. There
For
was
sure.
also around here. There were a lot of old schoolhouses, the old one-room schoolhouses. And the most of them, they've all been torn down now or fallen down. I was able to paint a few of them before that time. So yeah, and when you're painting something like this, you sort of start thinking, I wonder what the people were like who lived here. How big was their family? Or that was the one-room schoolhouse. Well, I remember one woman came to my studio and she bought a painting of one of the old schoolhouses that she went to as a girl. So and and
Well, a lot.
that meant a lot to her.
Yeah. Well, a lot of that is there's painting works that um, directly affected a person who's either been there before, seen it, taking a remembrance from it back home, right? They keeping their
Yes.
memories alive, and a lot of artists can do that. A lot of artists have this ability to paint something that people want. Common image, say a famous hotel that they've been in, for instance, and it's painted a lot, and people, sort of like painting the Eiffel Tower. If you're in Paris, that guy's on that sidewalk paints an awful lot of Eiffel Towers. I mean, everybody wants
Yeah.
to take something home. Yeah. Well, Vaughn,
Oh,
here's that. I
that's
left this.
just
I left this last image because it's this lone tree, and it's not a group of seven type of tree. It has a different iconic feeling. There's a different breath of air with this one, um, than say a Tom Thompson would paint or somebody like that, right? In the day, and watercolors. This one, this lone tree on this hill, right? And there's just where
yeah.
was this? Where was this one done?
Oh, that was just above Okanagan Lake. I think it was at Narromata. It's just there. You see, each tree has a personality, just like people do. And I try and capture these personalities. To me, they're saying something. They're talking to you, and I just get a feeling about them. And I probably sometimes I have too many trees in my landscapes, but they are so important, and they are a life that I don't think we cut them down and we burn them and we make lumber out of them, but they offer so much. And this is one of the problems that we have right now, that we're losing a lot of our forests. Uh, but this poor guy or girl, whoever it was, is standing there all by herself
Yeah,
and
I,
weathering the storms.
I
And
like it in that it's not symmetrical, right? It's less leaves on the right hand side and more on the left side. Part of it
yeah,
leaves me a feeling of maybe wind direction. It's been worn and torn from one direction more than the other, and the other trees leaves are on the leeward side of the wind, and it grows. When a branch breaks off, on the right hand side, for instance, it leaves a character, but it leaves also a signature for the landscape. What is the
yeah,
weather like? It's all these things. I'm the lone tree left, and yeah, you're right. There is a story there. Even in one tree. It's important to capture a lot of that. Well, Vaughn, it's been a short conversation, but we covered a lot of territory, and I appreciate you spending the time with us to share your artwork with us and your vision, and we'll bring David back in here if he's still hanging around there, and he's probably got a question for you or two, I would think. Yeah. There he is.
Yeah, well, I'm just fascinated by. I'm sitting here by an open window, luckily, and I'm sort of gazing half out at the weather, and it's just remarkable, Vaughn, of how you've managed to paint the weather. I know that sounds crazy, but I know nothing about art other than I like what I like. But when I'm looking at your paintings, I can feel the cold wind, and I can see the rain, which is yeah.
Which
I
you
would
see a
imagine
lot,
that's,
you see a lot of that there.
yeah. I can imagine that's very difficult to paint. But so that's somebody phoning in now to buy all these artwork.
Oh, yes. Well, I just, they got
Oh,
the
it's a
phone
call
right
in.
next to me here. And I didn't expect any calls this early in the morning, but
No, well, like that.
obviously somebody is calling. Oh, that's
Somebody will
fine. I
find
just
you.
shut it off.
But Vaughn,
Okay.
just the question I always like to ask at the end of the show to all the artists: if we wanted to purchase some of your work, what sort of price range are you looking at?
How and what?
The price
What
range.
sort of price range are you looking at? If I wanted to purchase some of your work,
Yes. What? I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand what you said.
Well, it's the price. It's the price range. Where does it start, and where does it go up to? Your price range in your work. I know you have some of the prices on your website as well. I guess it's just understanding where it starts and where it kind of goes up to your prices.
That's a tough question to answer. I don't know where it starts and where it ends. It's an ongoing situation.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, but as Paul alluded to, then there are prices. People can see your work with prices on your website. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
people
Then
can
we'll
go to
just
websites.
we just hope we'll point everybody in that general direction.
Yeah. I enjoyed the conversation, and I think people, just like you said, just contact Vaughn through his website, and you can look at his work, beautiful work throughout his site. And I appreciate everybody's time and watching us on the Canadian Art Today. And thanks, David. Thank you for.
Well, thank you, Paul. It's ever to being a wonderful guest to the show. Like we say to everybody, if you like the show, don't forget to subscribe and like. Comments as well, always welcome. And until the next time, then, on Canadian Art Today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.